I'm Marijn and welcome to the 6th lesson of this course. In the last lesson we have seen how to enter the 4 most important building blocks. These are customer segments, problems, solutions, and value proposition. These 4 building blocks are the starting point of your business. With these building blocks you are able to define the pitch whenever you need one. Before we go to the experiment board, let's have a look at some examples for entering these building blocks. The first example starts with customer segments. Starting with customer segments means that there is a need within that segment. In the example, the customer segment is elderly people. The hypothesis is that these people are living in isolation. To train people in using the computer, they are able to connect to others worldwide, specifically when children or grandchildren are living abroad. There is an added value for them to get in contact with their children and grandchildren. The second example shows the start at the building block solution. With current technology, an intelligent floor can be produced. This floor shows as somebody just walks over the floor or is fallen and therefore lies on the floor. From this point on, the possible customer segments are entered. In this case, a nursing home and people who still are living at home. With the camera as alarm system, there is the issue of privacy, or where people have fallen and cannot push an alarm button, the software detects that the person is lying on the floor and alarms the proper people. The added value is an improvement of the quality of life. For nursing homes, the improvement results in lower cost of less people and an improvement of safety for the customers. The third example starts with the building block problem. Define a social problem that everybody can notice, in this case the social problem of isolation. It's an issue that's coming up and will get worse because of the aging issue all around the world. To solve this problem, a platform is built to get in contact with others and in this way to get out of this isolation. This platform is built for elderly and single people. The added value shows that these people get a new feeling and that they matter in society and become happy again because they see that they matter. That means that information should be checked with information from the market. Steve Blank says, get out of the building. This means to go to customers and the market to gather information. However, in what way are we able to validate the hypothesis we have defined? The combination of the experiment board and Lean Startup seems to be very logical. It's not. Lean Startup and the experiment board are 2 different tools. On the other hand, they are interconnected. Some say they are not related. In a matter that's true. However, there is an overlap and the experiment board will help to carry out the experiments. With the help of the experiment board or javelin board from the Lean Startup machine, every hypothesis can be validated. Let's have a look at the board itself. In the first place, there are the customer segments. Just copy them from the Lean Startup canvas or start your experiment here if you don't have a Lean canvas. The javelin board starts with the customer segments. Remember that there is a maximum of 3 market segments that are important. The maximum of 3 is to focus instead of trying to serve the whole market at once. Write for each segment one name that represents the whole group within the segment. Define the problems that you think each customer segment feels that's important to solve. In the solution part, enter the solution that will solve the problem for the customer segment. The solution describes at first the common solution and in more depth the functionality of the solution. However, when your starting point isn't the building block solution, you first have to gather information before defining a solution. Therefore, the squared solution is grey in the first experiment. One of the most important issues in starting a new business with a new idea are showstoppers. A showstopper is an issue that if it would occur, it would mean that the whole idea is lost. The experiment board lists these risky assumptions and if they are true, it means that the whole idea will fail. So, it's very important to validate these risky assumptions. The next step is to define the method and success criteria of each experiment. In the Lean Startup there are 3 ways to validate the experiments. These are interview, pre-sell and concierge. The interview is where you get out, go to customers and get answers to validate your hypothesis. Pre-sell is selling something before you actually have something to sell, and third is concierge. This is where you manually deliver something for your customers. The choice Which method to choose is based on the amount of data that is available. The less data you have, the more exploration is needed. Face-to-face interviews are the best method to get information you need. An experiment is not complete without the success criteria. How do you know when an experiment is successful? The success criteria is the minimum validation you need in order to invest more resources, time and effort in the business you are building. When you are interviewing, a group of people define on forehand how many people should agree with the questions asked. Great! You just defined your first experiment. Now it's time to get out of the building and collect data. After retrieving your data, it's time to analyze this data and make a decision. Persevere or pivot. This decision is based on the data you have collected. You might return with a lot of data and a lot of learnings, but focus on the key learnings and the key insights that the data will give you. With these insights, you are able to define your next experiment. Pivot if the results do not meet your success criteria, and persevere if they meet or exceed your success criteria. If you pivot, you change a customer segment or find a new problem to work with. Or do both. Change customer segment and problem. If you persevere, take one or more risk and move it from the left to the right and brainstorm for the riskiest assumption. So, that's how to use the experiment board. We have seen how you can use the 3 different ways to start with a Lean canvas, and you learned how to validate your hypothesis with the experiment board. Okay, that's it for this lesson.